So, hello everyone. For some, good morning. For some, good afternoon. It is great to have you with us today, and we're going to be talking about holiday stress and your emotional intelligence toolkit. I'm Hyle Rutledge. I'm the president and principal consultant here at OKA, and I'm really excited to bring this new content with you, and it feels like the timing couldn't be any more appropriate. And so what we're going to do over the course of our hour together is talk about, so what's stress? Why is it stressful? What's so stressful about the holidays? And specifically, what's so stressful about this holiday? But we'll take a look at that. And then, what are some ways that you can use emotional intelligence? Now, maybe you have the EQI as a tool on your belt. You're already certified. You use it as a coach. You use it as a trainer, and that's terrific. And so this will help you with that. But let's say you don't. You don't even know that much about emotional intelligence. I'm interested in helping you kind of pull the concept into your life and kind of give you some tools about emotional intelligence, even if you don't have that as a background. So we're going to talk about two essential holiday EQ tools that you need to understand and need to be able to work, and we'll talk about how to even work them a little bit better. But I'm also interested in looking at the major holidays that we're facing here coming up. And what, if you lay emotional intelligence over those holidays, what in those holiday narratives are we expected to engage and live? So what EQ tools are most called for during the holidays? So I want to take a look at that too. And then we'll wrap up and get you out in the world in less than an hour. So that's where we're going. So I'm interested first in asking that question. And so what's so stressful about the holidays? And so let me take you right to this layout for you to answer that. And so here you've got a chat pod right next to my picture right over here. And so what I'd like for you to do is just chat in your ideas about that. So what's so stressful about the holidays? Everybody talks about holiday stress. What about the holidays is so stressful? So even if you're not feeling that way right now, or you tend not to, what are the events and the stressors that burden folks so commonly at this time of year? Yeah. And so let's see what you got. So this is exactly what I want you to do. Let's take a look at it. And so purchasing gifts, what to buy, can I afford to buy it, do I have enough time to buy it? I mean, so the purchase of gifts by itself is challenging. So people, do I have enough time and flexibility, inflexible beliefs from loved ones and friends, preparing, just all the planning, in-laws, getting the house ready for guests. Look at all this. Oh, this is great. This is great. So pressure to be happy and to get on with family, the family traditions, fear of not doing it right, the balancing work with home, shopping, too many obligations and expectations, too many obligations and too little time. Both of those seem to be here. How am I going to fit it in? I just got too many things pulling me in too many different directions. And so self-imposed demands. No one helps me with the cooking and the cleaning. COVID and I don't have the usual gatherings and so on. So take a look at this list. This is a big, juicy list, and some of it is very time specific, as in of our world right now. But most of this is classic kind of family difficulties with time, with money, with balance, and so. This is why life is stressful. Put this much pressure on any one event with this many people involved, and it just exacerbates that. It throws gas on that fire. So keep all this in mind. This is a great list, and this is just backdrop for where we're going. And so when we go back to this, so what's so stressful about the holidays? Well, you told me very boldly what was stressful about the holidays. Lots is stressful about the holidays. But I want to put it in the perspective of this year. This is a year to remember, or perhaps a year to forget. But this year that we're living in is really quite unique in our collective history, with all the problems that we were having, and then COVID. 250,000 people, Americans, dead in 8 months. Civil rights, social justice, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all in the backdrop of climate change and a West on fire, the contentious election, and here we are 3 days after the election, and we're still in lockdown. Not lockdown, that we're still kind of tied up, not quite knowing where we're going. We are living in very stressful times. And in a social media and political environment that actually thrive on our being agitated, because we're easier to control and we're more likely to give money when we're agitated. And that is, so all of those holiday things that we talked about being so stressful are just compounded because here we are sitting in 2020. So the idea is, how can we get some relief from that? There's no silver bullet, there isn't one. But how can we get some relief from that? Well, I think emotional intelligence is a toolkit that can help. So, just to give you some background, this is the most popular emotional intelligence model or assessment is this EQI model of emotional intelligence, published by MHS. And it was established through, in the early 1990s, through extensive clinical and psychometric research. And it actually takes a very expansive view of human behavior, and it has brought together a rather diverse collection of human behaviors. And they make up the behavioral face we bring to the world. That's what emotional intelligence is. Here's how you bring these 15 behaviors, the cocktail, if you will, of these behaviors that you bring to this discussion or this group at this time. And so what does that look like and sound like? Well, that's what emotional intelligence is. And the thing that is so critical and helpful to us is that your emotional intelligence is made up of behaviors that can and do change and develop. So you can grow these things. You can intentionally approach them differently. That doesn't mean it's easy to do that, but these can be changed, these can be grown. And so holiday stress and EQ, when we're merging these two topics, each of these 16 behaviors, and the whole model has 16 behaviors, and each one of them can and does play a role in the stress that we feel and the actions we can take to address these anxieties. But some of these elements, of course, kind of address this challenge, the challenge of stress and the challenge of holiday stress more directly than others. And so what I want to show you is, let's take a look at just two in the time we have, that actually zero in specifically on this holiday stress, on addressing more of those that you listed in that macro list than the others. That's emotional self-awareness and stress tolerance. So first thing we're going to do today is drill into emotional self-awareness and stress tolerance. So emotional self-awareness is the degree to which you're in touch with your feelings and emotions. So how you can distinguish one emotion from another, you know what you're feeling and why. And so as I'm living my life, and even as things are changing, I'm tied into what's going on within me, what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling that. It's like I'm keeping a finger on the pulse of me, of what's going on with me. And so if I am low in emotional self-awareness, if I don't do that, if I don't have emotional self-awareness, well then I'm unaware. I'm disconnected from myself. I'm ignorant of what my emotions are. That doesn't mean I don't feel anything. It means that I am not aware of the feelings that I'm in. I have emotions that are even driving some of my perceptions, they're even driving some of my behaviors, and I don't know what those are. I'm acting out of my anger, I'm acting out of my guilt, I'm acting out of my joy, and I'm not even aware that I'm doing that. There's a big danger in our not paying attention to what's going on inside of us. And so now it could be that we're an average degree of self-awareness. So about as many have more as have less than I do. I'm aware of some things. My happiness, my irritation, I'm very aware of that. But my anger, my resentment, actually I'm not. Or maybe I'm aware of how I interact with these people. I'm very aware of that. But actually this group over here, it's not on my radar screen. Tuesday, yes, but Wednesday, no. I mean, so sometimes yes, sometimes no. It's the circumstantial answer. And that a lot of people, most people are there, thus the average. But if you are actually connected to emotional self-awareness, if that's something that's active in your life, then you understand your feelings and why you're feeling them. And so I know the difference in this hope and joy and this irritation, and I know what is driving each one of those. I know what happens in my body when I start to feel angry, when I start to feel resentful. One of you mentioned that, I think it was Sarah maybe, that no one helps me in these big family gatherings with the cooking and the cleaning, and so if that's the case, and that's such a good kind of insight to know that, so I'm feeling resentful about that. And how does resentment build within me? Well, first my ear gets really hot because my blood pressure starts to rise, and so here's where it sits in my body. Here's what triggers it. So I'm aware of that. Now, my knowing about it doesn't necessarily mean it goes away, but I can't do anything about it until I know about it. And so how much sensitivity, how much openness, how much awareness do you have about you and what's going on with you? That was a long list when we kind of take a look at this long list of, not grievances, but of these are the things that face me in the holidays. This is what I'm stressed about. It's about time. It's about family. It's about conflict. It's about balance and choices. And that is difficult. Well, when we take a look at emotional self-awareness, we realize that I can't solve any of those things. I can't approach them at all if I don't first understand what's going on with me. That's emotional self-awareness. Okay? So think about that. And I want to pull on the second one. Hey Denise, glad to have you on board. The second one that we're going to talk about of our pair here is stress tolerance. So once I know emotional self-awareness, once I have some sense of what's actually going on with me, that I'm stressed, why I'm stressed, this stresses me more than this brings me relief, this does not, I need to understand what's going on behind the curtain. Once I do, that's when stress tolerance can kick in. Now, stress tolerance is basically your ability to stay active, to stay plugged in, to stay productive, even in the face of mounting stress. The world is stressful. Every day is stressful. Some days more than others. And so the question becomes, what are you able to actually grab a hold and process that stress that you feel to stay plugged in and effective? Because if you don't, if you're low in stress tolerance, that means that you are stress intolerant. That means that you are stressed and agitated. You're prone to anxiety and fear. And letting that anxiety, letting that fear kind of lock you out of productivity. You procrastinate, kind of hopeless. You give up quickly. You think that the things that are ahead of you, like the holidays, like this conversation, like this challenge, it's going to be bigger than I am. It's more than I can handle, so I don't even try. And so not enough stress tolerance. Low stress tolerance means that I let fear and anxiety overwhelm me. Now, maybe you have an average degree of stress tolerance, which means that I tolerate some things and not others. I'm good around these emotions, but not those. I was better yesterday than I am today, but I'll be good tomorrow, and it all comes out in the wash. I mean, and so maybe you have an average degree of stress tolerance. Of course, the goal is to have this a more active part of your life where you effectively are dealing with, you have an effective kind of array of tools to bring to the challenges that you have. In terms of how do I address this? How do I work with this? How do I work with this thing to eliminate or minimize the stress? Or how do I work through and process the stress once I've taken it on? And so stress tolerance and emotional self-awareness. And so what I'm interested in is, so let's learn from each other. I have almost 100 people in this webinar. And so I'm interested in our learning from each other. What exercises, what techniques, what behaviors would help you, or anyone, to activate, boost, and practice these important EQ tools, and most specifically, to practice these things here, to practice these things during this kind of key holiday season, right? And so so what do you think? What's worked for you? What have you heard about? What have you read about? And that could be on the emotional self-awareness side. That could be on the stress tolerance side. Both. Maybe you have something to say for both. But let's get some ideas going here. My ask to you is, while we'll spend a few minutes on this in this exercise, and I'm going to talk to you about both columns in just a minute, but you will have access to this recording. So of course you can come back and interact with this content in the future. But as you're going through, I would also jot down, just on a sheet of paper, I would just record it for yourself. I've had some people say it's helpful to even take their cell phone out and take a picture of the computer screen. So you can decide that on your own. But to get some of these ideas, to kind of record and integrate some of these ideas for yourself. So as you're walking here, oh hey Deb, I just saw your name, so nice to see you part of the group today. The emotional self-awareness, how do you boost that? How do you exercise that? And so anything that helps you be more mindful, so meditation, pausing, writing down, making a list, yoga, meditation, the journaling comes up a few times. And here's the idea, that emotional self-awareness is internal. There's just a powerful internality to emotional self-awareness. So I can only experience emotional self-awareness. I can only do that if I am introverting, if I'm looking inwardly. And so I need to be doing the tasks that allow for and promote that. And that is meditation, mindfulness, prayer, if you're into that, journaling. I take a walk by myself. I get into myself to actually be mindful of, where's my body? What's going on with me? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that? And so that kind of analysis is internal. So look how one of the things, I'm so stressed, I'm so frazzled. Well, I can't do anything about that until I really understand, what am I frazzled about? What am I afraid about? What am I feeling? I can't do that until I actually pause, inhale, think about what's actually going on. And is this important? Is this more important than this? What did I do? And so there are lots of techniques, and there's a beautiful list here that suggests that. Journaling, writing things, just writing down, just writing a list, which can be a de facto journal. There's an app, the Mood Meter app. It's a great suggestion. So all of these things, preventive measures for me include yoga, a minimum of 20 minutes of meditation each day, deep breaths. That idea of the breath, of actually breathing, to oxygenate the brain and to concentrate on the breath going in, on the breath going out. Every religious tradition and spiritual tradition I know of incorporates within the ritual, within the practice of that faith, the idea of pause, reflection, and breath. because that's when you get into your center. And it's very, very difficult to do anything productive in life before you do that. It's so foundational. Quasi mentions emotional ownership. Listen to your body and how you're reacting. That idea of emotional agency. So what's going on with me, and claim it as yours, and let me understand that. And then, so anyway, that's so terrific. Great left hand column there. Emotional self-awareness. So this is what I'm feeling. I know why I'm feeling it. It's all this family stress. It's too many gifts and too little money, or too much commitment and too little time. And so I know exactly what I'm feeling, and how that's. And by knowing it doesn't make it go away. And so what do I do there? Well, so now let's take a look at the stress tolerance. What does some of our collective wisdom tell us about stress tolerance? And so. Meditate. Do things for yourself. Deep breath. Relax. One of the things that I love to see is when the same exercise. So relax. Do some deep breathing. Do some stretching. Do some that not just one time for 5 minutes. Work it in. That this becomes a habit. I don't have to take a lot of time. Just 7 short hours a day, and so it's not that. It could be 10 minutes twice a day, or 20 minutes, or whatever. But I do it every day. I just kind of find this place. It helps me with stress and with emotional self-awareness. So you could do both of these at the same time. You don't have to, but these can fold together, and you're doing one while you're doing the other. Love to get on the spin bike. So exercise. So what's the kind of exercise that you will do? And so if you like going to the gym and doing exercise classes, that's great. In these COVID days, my wife's an aerobics instructor, and she's been doing it from Zoom. And so you can not leave the house and still work up a good sweat with other people, insofar as Zoom is being with other people. Taking a walk. I've always been a big walker, and now there are people all around. Everybody's out walking, and which is move your body, and that is a good way of processing. And by the way, when you're doing that, you can get some of that internal time if you'll allow it. So exercise, yoga, taking walks, sex, intentional time out, giving yourself some grace, regular meditation practice, spiritual practices, if that's your thing, that can really feed this space. Stretch breaks when working virtually, stretch breaks when working anywhere, but stretch breaks where we're going to pause and move around. I'm going to move my body from here to there, and get a glass of water, and just little things to break it up and move, and you process the stress a little better, a little differently. If you're burning calories, you're a step further down the path. This is there's a lot of collective wisdom here in the stress tolerance column. And so what I would do before we shift away from here, what I would do is very important, is to grab a couple of things. Like I said, you can come back to this if you and take a look at it if you really want to soak in all of the suggestions. What I would urge you to do is to write down 2 or 3 of them. Write down 2 or 3 that you think, I could do that. They're a stretch for me, but I could do that. Some of these things, oh, that's rubbish. I would never do that. Well, then don't do that one. But of this list of 50 things or more, you can find 2 or 3 that I'm going to try that, and jot that down. The idea is, I first need to know, emotional self-awareness, what's stressing me. Not just an abstract list of what could stress one, but what's stressful to me, and how does that manifest in my life. Once I have that, what are the tools I have to actually work on that, to actually address that, either address the issue or tolerate more effectively the stress that it is bringing me. So The very good. So I want to shift. If I had to choose, you only have two. Which two EQ elements are going to most help you with this? I would say that stress tolerance and emotional self-awareness would be the two I would first go to. But we don't have a lot of time today, and when I'm thinking about holiday stress and EQ, one of the things that just naturally came to my mind was when I think about the holidays that are in front of us. I think about the holidays that we collectively tend to engage in, at least here in the United States, this time of year. That what were the EQ narratives that are demanded or expected during these times? And so I want to share that with you. And so in the United States, we're coming up on Thanksgiving. We equate this back to before our founding as the United States with the Native Americans and the Pilgrims. This has been a holiday since the middle of the Civil War, actually, here in the United States. But Thanksgiving has come to represent the connection to family and loved ones and the expression, getting in touch with and expressing a sense of gratitude for the blessings, for the abundance that we have. And that's what Thanksgiving is all about. Now, when I think about, therefore, Thanksgiving EQ narrative, then, well, it's about gratitude, but it's also about appreciation. So gratitude and appreciation, of course, are central to Thanksgiving. And so when I think about, well, how do gratitude and appreciation tie in to EQ? Well, gratitude really is about interpersonal relationships. It's about being grateful for connection that you have to other people. But it's also about optimism. A major swath of gratitude actually lives in optimism. And appreciation, of course, is pure optimism. And so when you think about Thanksgiving, within the United States culture, I really think anywhere, that much of Thanksgiving's gratitude and appreciation thrust is actually rooted in optimism. Okay, that makes sense. Well, let's put a pin in that. Take a look at Hanukkah. Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. And so this year, Hanukkah is December 10th through the 18th, so Hanukkah is coming up. And Hanukkah, the story of Hanukkah, is I think most of you probably know, but is that so facing overwhelming odds, overwhelming forces, that the people under siege kind of experienced a miracle. When just a day's worth of oil actually gave them light for 8 days. And so through this faith and belief, they experienced this miracle. So Hanukkah actually teaches us a few things, and certainly the Hanukkah story is a story of hope. It's a story of faith. It's a story of grit. It's a story of resilience, as so many of the Jewish holidays and Jewish faith is rooted in resilience. And so when you think about this, then hope is rooted directly into optimism, as is faith. Hope and faith live in optimism. And resilience, there's some self-actualization in there. We haven't talked about that, but about having goals and driving on. And so some of that resilience story is in self-actualization, but it is also very boldly in optimism. Right? So I will. So when you think about with Hanukkah, optimism underpins the Hanukkah story. So clearly, part of this, the glow of Hanukkah is around optimism. So, how about Kwanzaa? Kwanzaa is a fascinating holiday, and it's rooted in 7 principles, and I'm not sure how widely it is embraced and known and has been studied, but there's a lot of stuff out that Quasi wants to make sure you know. And then if you do, I'm sorry for the repetition, but the one of those principles, unity, so unity in family and community and nation. Self-determination is important. So define our names to define and name ourselves. And then I love principle 3 with quantus, collective work and responsibility. So to build and maintain our community together and to make our brothers and sisters' problems our own. And just personally, I love that concept that let's work and collectively, and your problem now becomes my problem. It's a beautiful thought. Cooperative economics, the purpose to build and develop community in order to restore the community. And then the 6 and 7 are also particularly powerful, again, personally, to me. But creativity, to always do as much as we can to serve the community. Think about that. That is such a bold statement, to always do as much as we can to serve the community and leave it beautiful. And then finally, faith in our people and our parents and our teachers and our leaders. Faith. And we need that always, but man, we need that now. And so so when we think about Kwanzaa, how does EQ overlap with that? Well, when we take a look at that, optimism underpins 3 of these principles, certainly purpose and creativity and faith. There's our old friend optimism there. But the other is social responsibility. Man, look at that. That 6 out of the 7 are rooted primarily in social responsibility. And so so that is so when that reminds us that the Festival of Lights is celebrated by more than 1 billion people worldwide. So so these are common. I was talking about what was kind of common in the United States, but it's not just in the United States. But so yeah, I didn't mean to in any way limit that. So Kwanzaa, fascinating, and we get to see that. And so there's finally Christmas is upcoming, and so can anybody tell me what Christmas is all about? And so what I figured is no one can do this, at least to me, more effectively than Linus here. And so what I'm going to do is play this clip from Charlie Brown Christmas, and Linus will explain to us what Christmas is all about. If you're having trouble seeing this clip, I haven't pressed play yet, but you can actually click the Charlie Brown clip in the upper right-hand corner and see it in another browser if you need to. But I think you'll recognize this. All right? Here's Linus and Charlie Brown Christmas.
Is there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Sure, Charlie Brown, I can tell you what Christmas is all about.
Lights, please. And there were in the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them. And the glory of the Lord shone round about them. And they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about.
All right. And so when we think about the Christmas story, we've got hope, we've got gratitude, we've got faith, and we've got giving to others. And so that's what underpins the Christmas story. And so the hope, well, that's optimism. Gratitude, that's optimism. Faith, that's optimism. Giving to others, that's social responsibility. And so the idea here with this Christmas story is that social responsibility is a key part of that. That this is about thinking about the joy and care of others, not unlike what the angels were doing when they came and visited the shepherds, and what Christ was even sent to do within that narrative, within that Christmas story. But so much of that is deeply rooted in optimism of this is what's happening. You be happy about it. This is what's coming. This is what's happening. And so so Christmas is clearly rooted in optimism as well. When we take a look at these different narratives, very different traditions, different purposes, different origins, but one of the things that's important is that that all of them are kind of boldly relying upon social responsibility and optimism, and so that is something that we want to focus in on: social responsibility and optimism. So one of the ways to understand, engage fully, and even embrace these holidays that we're kind of steeped in is understanding how prominent social responsibility and optimism are. And so let me talk about social responsibility and optimism real quickly, and then I want to talk about how to do it. How do we do this? Remember, social responsibility in this context is your ability, your tendency to join a social system, to connect to a larger group. That group could be the family, the place of worship, the community, the team, the company, the gang on the corner. But I'm going to join this social system, and then I'm going to operate with a social consciousness. I'm going to think about, what does the group need? What does the whole need? It's not about me. It's about doing what is best for the whole. Thy will be done. That's a social responsibility idea. So thinking outside of yourself for the good of others, for the good of the group. Now, optimism is your ability, is your ability to think about the future and see the future as a place of hope, a place of promise. It's going to work out, or it might. It could. There's a possibility that it could. And so so faith lives here. Hope lives here. Now, what I'm interested in is what exercises, techniques, what can you do? What can any of us do? Let's do this one more time. But now we're talking about social responsibility and optimism. This is something that it's always very beneficial, but we're so steeped in these around the holidays. One of the ways that we cope with the holidays is we actually engage in these themes that are so prominent. So what could you do to help someone get better, to exercise, to flex their social responsibility, thinking outside of themselves? And what could you do to help them get better with optimism? Let's see if we can get some ideas up. Contribute as you can, but also take notes. Jot down what you can that speaks to you. Something you tend not to do, but could, that you're willing to do, that you think you could try. In terms of social responsibility, be purposeful to random acts of kindness. And that's Marcia. Marcia. So random acts of kindness, that's great. The be purposeful is so important there. That's a great suggestion. That it's not just, if somebody happens to come along, you can do something nice. I mean, that's nice too. But with intention, with purpose, I'm going to step into and do this nice thing for you because it's a nice thing for you, to you. Think about how my actions will affect others, help others. And that's something, again, that idea of purpose. I'm going to sit down and think about what is something I can do to take care of you, to support you, to make sure you're okay. In this particular time of need, to make sure you have enough food to eat, to make sure that your kids have presents, if presents are part of the tradition, to make sure if you're somebody that's elderly down the street, you have somebody to rake your leaves. You have somebody that it doesn't have to be money, but what can I do to help you on the outside of me? Coaching others, be open-minded, volunteer in a way, donate to a charity, check on your friends, learn about a circular economy. That's a nice thought there, Scott. Vote for a socially responsible president. Give your time and focused attention. Beyond the president, because our votes here in the States, we just had an election. I know we have some folks from Canada and even Europe on the class today. But the idea is that now that the votes have been cast, we're waiting for them to be finished being counted. But then it's a matter of, so what can I do to help that person, to help the leadership that is in place? What can I do to help them get further? And so beyond my money and beyond my vote, which has already happened, what can I do? I mean, so you can even tie this into our current political climate. Contribute to your local community physically. Be active. If you're in politics, do that. Local shelter, do that. Schools need so much help. Parks can be a mess. Clean them up. There's things you can do. So absolutely great. Find one. One of the things that can be cool is, what if we actually did this as a family, and part of what we do is, and if not everybody has to go, and I've got some folks in the family, I don't care anything about that stuff, well then you don't have to come, and there's just the people that will come. And that's, so we could be taking that walk and doing something physical while we're also doing that. Anyway, so there's ways you can double up on these lists. Great, and the list continues to grow, so nice work. In terms of optimism, I can choose to look at the brighter side of life, be cognizant of the words that I'm saying, that even when I think, oh, this is gloomy, or this is, no, I'm really afraid, and I think this is terrible, think about and. So all this is terrible, I'm scared, and this is possible, and this could also be. This might also be the case. So this isn't, think of the positive instead of the negative. If the negative is around you, I mean, if the gloom or the oppressive idea is there, intentionally think, what else is there? Others suggest listening more. Or one of the things that I might need to actually go find somebody who has that view, and rather than shooting them down or thinking of them as kind of stupid or naive, or I'm intentionally listening to try and find a place for that positive view here. Even if I don't, before I believe it, I need to at least listen to it and hold it. And so look for good in all people. Write down the best possible outcome of a situation. You know, going back, Jay, to your comment there about look for the good in all people, that's the thing of with some intention. Think about here in the States, we've been building up. It almost feels like a volcano. And it's now blasting off, and there's just so much raw emotion, and so the idea is we have the perfect laboratory, because in my personal family, parents, siblings, that we have people that span the political spectrum, and it's really strained. And so the thought is, let me get beyond the vitriol, and whether you do it to me or not, I can do that with you, and find where there's overlap and build that and de-escalate. That is always my choice. And so all I'm saying is that it's a choice that you can make, and it's within your power to do it. And so that's, and while that doesn't, that's kind of a political, an interpersonal tool around a political concept, it just so happens that here around the holidays, we are in this time of great social and political tumult. These holidays bring us together, so we've got a perfect laboratory to try some of this out. So, social responsibility, very nice. Optimism, very nice. I would urge you to, again, hopefully you've written a couple of things down that you, not only that you've typed up here, but that you could do, that you could try. And so, nice work. And so, what I would like to, where I'd kind of like to take you now, point us a light to a couple of interesting things that I want you to know about, and then we're going to get to some questions. And so be thinking about the questions that you have, questions, comments. I'd like to hear them. But I want to tell you about an assessment that we have coming up. OKA has long been a home for a lot of kind of cutting-edge, powerful assessments, the Myers-Briggs, the Pearman, the EQI. But we're onboarding a new assessment in kind of a big way here early next year called the Drive. And it has to do with motivations, values, and drivers. So that thing you just did just now, why did you do that? Why did you do that? Why did you say that? And so if you really want to understand me, you really need to understand not just that I just did something, but why did I do that? What was the motive? What was the driver of that behavior, of that movement? And so this is an assessment that gives us that information. And so that we have a number of these factors of impact, insight, connection, harmony, productivity, and meaning. And within these 6, there are actually 28 different drivers. And so the cool part about this that is it actually augments nicely the behavioral work that we've done. Like, for instance, the EQI talks about assertiveness and optimism and impulse control, and so it talks about behaviors and how much to do. Do you do it more? Do you do it less than the average person? Very, very useful. If you don't do it, well, you could do it more. But what the EQI doesn't do, it actually is pretty agnostic about, but why are you doing that? Why are you asserting yourself or not? And this kind of gets behind that. And so this can be a nice augment. It stands on its own, but it's a nice augment to those kind of behavioral models. So in the weeks and months ahead, we're going to be sharing more with you on our blog, and we'll contact you and just let you know that it's around. You might be interested in learning about it, but you'll certainly want to know that it exists, just that there's a new kid on the block, and this kid's kind of exciting. And so the idea is that you learn the why behind the what that you're doing. And so the other thing that the personality type for the holidays. Now, there's another webinar that we're putting together that's going to talk about type, personality type, if that's a model that you're interested in. And so, what are each type's unique stressors around the holidays and all year long? And what can you do to dial down the stress? What can you do to dial down your own stress, and what can you do to help other people dial down theirs? And frankly, just for fun, what are some gift ideas for the different types on your list? And so, so we put this together. It's also like this one, that is just something free. It's going to be offered twice for your convenience. Thursday, December 10th at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and then Tuesday, December 15th at 5 p.m. So same thing, offered live 2 different times, just so that hopefully we can find a time that is convenient for you. And you can sign up for this right off our website, same place you signed up for the other. So just know that's coming, and I'd love to see you back for that. And so I am interested in what your in the questions that you have for this. Also, right below the slide, there's a holiday stress and your emotional intelligence toolkit handout that actually has the merge of EQ and the 4 holidays there. Just so that's all summarized if you were interested in having it. And so, so I will. So let's see what comments and questions you have here. So, on the platform as well, they have. I'm sorry that Lori had to leave, but I was glad that she was able to be here. So I'm glad. So a number of you have had to run or have to run, and I totally understand that. I am. Any comments or questions? I know it can be awkward to have to type them rather than say them, but I would love to hear any comments or questions that you have. Those of you who have to run, I totally understand. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being a part of your day. I hope to get you back on a OKA class really soon. How do you coach clients who say they're tired of taking the high road, especially as it relates to the EQI 2.0 model? And so, Christy, I think that is a great question. And but what that does is that frames it around, that frames the issue around, do I take the high road or do I take the low road? That frames the whole conflict in win-lose terms. And so, so if I'm worried about, well, so wait a minute, I don't want to take the low road because then I lose this debate. And so, if you are framing this in terms of that my goal is to beat you, then a lot of the things we're talking about aren't going to be helpful. And in fact, because I can't be seen to lose, I'm not going to take the low road because I don't want to lose again with you. Well, then the stress coaching that would need to be done is not about how do I acquiesce and reframe, and the issue is how do I beat you, and that's about how do we win elections, how do we gather more people, how do we double down and get stronger and bigger. I mean, that's always an option. The question is what not for you, for me. Is what I'm winning by doing that worth what it's costing me in my money, in my time, in my spirit, in my values, and that's a calculation that only I can make. And so the question is, you can so you don't have to take the high road. You can actually decide. These are my values, this is what I believe, and unless you do the same or unless you fall in accordance with those, I don't want to see you or be a part of you. But what that means is that there are going to be lots of friendships, lots of schisms that are going to stay ripped apart, and we have a country that actually is now pretty clearly in that space. So you have the power to fight and to learn how to fight better. But fighting takes a lot, and is that a price you want to continue to pay? And continue to pay with everybody? Are there targeted areas where you want to change that narrative? And so I am not interested at all with anybody, with you or with anybody, trying to convince you that you should be doing any of this. I am convinced that what is wise is for people to be thoughtful, for people to be intentional about the choices that they're making, and know how expensive the behaviors they've chosen to engage are in terms of their reputation, their own physical health, their own spiritual health, and is it really worth it? So that was a very windy answer, but that I think plays in. Tying this back to the holiday puts the EQ model into a perspective that's relatable. But, I'm so glad. Thanks, you Hermie. Hermie, it's great. I'm just now keying into part of the day-to-day. Thank you for renewing my perspectives of the holidays. And gosh, thank you, Scott. What a great thing. I'm glad that was helpful. Shissels, thank you so much. This was absolutely very nice. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Happy birthday. When it comes out, my birthday's on Thanksgiving, so that's a thank you, Tamika. I don't know how you know that, but that's really nice. This is, I really appreciate that. Well, and so I am here. We're up towards the top of the hour, and so I will actually stay here and connect and chat with you if you continue to have questions. I'll go ahead and stop the recording now. This recording will be available on our blog for anybody who wants to come in and see it. I look forward to seeing you at a future OKA event. But so in the meantime, have a peaceful and happy and healthy holiday season. I thank you all very much for giving me part of your day. Thank you.